We're going to start working on this Boulevard Cypress. I think we've seen this before. It's the one with multiple apexes. And I want to put it in a bonsai container. So this is going to be wrapped up. It's a little bit early. We still have this discoloration from the cold, but just about the time that you see this video, it'll be about the correct time. So we're in the first week of March, a little bit on the cold side, but because we don't have to disturb much of the root, it should be okay. This should go into the finished bonsai pot fairly intact. So most of the work is going to be up on top. I got to get this thing thinned out so that we have time for it to grow this year. So this will be the deep cut that I talk about from time to time. Okay, so anyway, this is the Boulevard Cypress. It's going to be done and put into a bonsai container. Okay, this is the very deep cut that we do early in the season. I'm just getting started. I just want to show you glimpses of the work in progress. Well, you can see that I took off a lot, but I'm not finished. I'm going to put it in the pot and then fine tune it. I think that would be wiser than trying to get it all to the finish point and then find out maybe I should have left a few things. So the next one you see will be, well, I need to make a note for myself. Do not try to make a video during work day. I got started because it was kind of slow, nobody was here. But then as soon as I get started, people will come, right? It's like lunch. Every time I try to eat a sit-down lunch, people show up. And that's sort of the norm for our industry, or nursery too. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today is to go ahead and finish up. This is, I think I told you, is in a wooden box, and the box is put together by screws, wood screws. So what I want to do first is to unscrew this front panel. Sometimes there are some that will not come apart, so this is what I do. Yeah, just comes off, right? It's kind of easier than taking it out of a pot. Just make sure that you use good screws and then it'll come apart. See, now it's very simple. We're more or less out of the container. So I'll remove this completely and then we'll get down to working on the root zone. Okay, now we are ready to get to work. And I want to make sure that this gets raked out and ready to go into a new container. So what we'll be doing is, oh yeah, it was time. It was starting to get all this roots on the bottom that it's not doing much because it has no contact with the soil. You see me take shortcut with my reciprocating saw, but today I thought I'd show you how most of you should be doing this, right? So you carefully undo these roots. See how they're kind of, if it was in a round pot, it would have coiled, but basically same thing. It just are piling up here. So as you work this, you start to cut these loose. Now, I can speed it up by just taking my reciprocating saw, but most of you should be working more like this. Just slow and easy. Cut some more. Now, these tools are not meant for cutting into dirt. So what I do is when I have these new ones for 2-3 years, I do mostly cutting the tops. And then as I upgrade to the next one or a newer one, I save it for cutting the roots into the dirt, okay? Well, if I use a new one here, it probably cut better, but then they don't last very long staying sharp like that. So that's what I've been doing. It's kind of up to you. If you only have one or two, then you could go ahead and use your good tools cutting the roots, but I've got hundreds. Well, that's also why I take my shortcut and take my reciprocating saw, and I'll be done by now. But anyway, today I thought I'd better show you the correct method rather than Hero's commercial method. So anyway, that's what we'll be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do this whole thing that way and then get back to you, or else it'll become a very long and boring video chapter. I got this side down, so what I did was flip this around, and I'm going to continue doing the same thing. Just kind of slowly raking this out and trimming. Look at all this that I've already taken out. These roots were not really doing much because it was not in contact with the soil. See, look at this. See, all this was just at the bottom, and this is not touching any more soil. Okay, this was still very healthy, but another year or two of this getting worse, that's when it starts to get unhealthy up on top. So actually, this is a very good example of what you should be doing versus Hero's, oh, well, you know, don't wait this long kind of thing. But you can see how it just root on root. So if we just get these cut back and keep going. And then like this area is in pretty good shape now, but this area definitely needs to get raked out and thinned out. Look at this pile here. This is all the roots that was not going to do anything for this plant. And then, some people go much further than this, but I try to do only minimum root disturbance as needed, right? So I'm going to stop at this point. I might trim off a little bit more. Definitely we're going to trim off some off the side. So let's get to the next step. Okay, this is the pot that I plan to put this in, and it's pretty close. I just have to shave these off and then rake this and then rake out the top, right? I think what I'm going to do is to go ahead and take my reciprocating saw and cut this, because there's a lot of roots in here. And those of you that are more traditional, just rake, and then it'll probably take you another hour, whereas if I use my more commercial method, it'll be done in a few minutes. So that's what I'm going to do next, is just to round off those corners. Okay, next we're going to do the surface, right? We're going to make sure we pull back this way. Well, I was going to pull the weeds in advance, but it's no use because we're going to get rid of it as we work on the surface. We want to make sure we expose much of the roof flare as there is, and then we'll know how it fits into the pot. So that's what I'll do, is I'll go ahead and clean this all up, and then I'll be checking the sides, make sure there's nothing coiling down here. That I'm going to do by hand, right? Oh yeah, this part here like that. So anyway, I'll get that done and get back to you. It looks like almost. I need to trim this area that's about it, I think. I just trimmed. Well, there's a taper to this pot, so I'll probably have to cut with the taper, and then it should fit right in. So we're very close to the finish. Well, it looks like a pretty good fit. I could add a little bit of soil, especially on this side because it's a little low. So I'll make those adjustments and get it repotted. So it's looking pretty good. See, it's really low on this side. I think what happened was I took the surface off. So this should come up more like that. And then this side a little bit. So I'll add the soil on the bottom and then start repacking. This looks about right here. So now I just have to make sure that I get everything repacked along the side. And I think there's, well, probably a half a gallon or so that I put on the bottom. And then we're going to have quite a bit of soil on the side. So this should be good for another 5 years or so after we get done today. So I'll do that and get back to you. Okay, so now I have to repack the soil, and I've been using these and then push down. Remember, there was a slight taper. Make sure that you get everything back in. This is kind of an interesting spot. Remember, there was a box that came here. So this part here, there's an abrupt line. And so now I'm going to have to go in and keep working at it so that it doesn't look like it just came out of a box. So this area is going to require a little bit more intricate detailing. See all these things here? I got to make it so that I get all those carefully out but not damage the major root. So I'll be doing that, and after that I think we're done with this one. So it's about attention to details as you get to this finish. Well, I consider this now finished. That needs to grow back a little bit because I did come back fairly heavy to anticipate for the growth that's coming up. But right here, I'm going to have to really work this to make it convincing that this was always in this container. Took me a while, got rid of that line, both sides. This was really the bad side right here, but now it looked like it was always in this container. So I'm happy with it. It did take me a while. It's a good thing that you didn't have to watch the whole process, or else this would have been a really, really long video. So I got rid of that, got rid of all the indication that it was in a square or rectangular box. So now I'm ready to finish it up. If you remember on my other chapters, I was trying to make this with 4 apexes. And then this was driving me crazy. So I made this one into a branch, which made it easier. And I was trying to go with this being the tallest, middle, and the shortest. I thought that was more logical. But now this is becoming the tallest. And then instead of having this as a conflict, I'll make this one shorter. I'll make this one shorter. I think that makes more sense. Okay, so anyway, and then this will stay like that, and then that one will not go much taller. I think in terms of overall proportion to the pot, this is about right. So I'll do some fine tuning, more like this kind of pruning, and then I'll call it finished. Done. I think this is the front. Anyway, you can see that we have a good root flare, and it goes up. It has nice movement and taper. Now, is this show ready today? No, this is preparation for the new growth season. So this will start to grow as soon as it starts to warm up, which is probably within weeks. Then what you do is to pinch and then keep it nice and tight. So I would think that another year to 2 years, this will be a showstopper at one of the shows. Am I going to be in it? No, I'm done with that kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure now that it looks so good, somebody's going to buy this in the near future. So just in case, let's also call this Goodbye Old Friend. This is a Boulevard Cypress that I've had it for a good 30 years, maybe even longer. And what I did today was take it from the final stage of development and get it into near finished bonsai. This is very close to being a perfect bonsai, just needs more detailing. Flip this around, this might be the back side or it might be the front. But anyway, this is Hiro saying goodbye. I'll see you again real soon in another chapter. The only regret I have about this project is it's heavy. The ceramic pot and all the new soil and all that made this quite heavy. Well, let's say 15, 20 years ago, it was not heavy, but it sure does feel heavy now. Anyway, I'll see you again real soon.